tuned into. So how do you make that announcement? Nothing happens. Nobody runs towards the building. Nobody. I don't understand that one. How do you not at least get the president off the stage, right? How do you not say, hey, look, there's a gunman, or someone up on a roof, a suspicious character, just pull off for a minute until we can figure out who this is and get him off the roof. That to me makes zero sense. And when it is that much of a failure and that much just gross negligence involved, it makes people start with their conspiracy theories, right? It's like it can't be this bad, and it seems like it is.
What they should be. Here's what happens, and often, you see this in life. If you don't know what's going on, your imagination runs because you're trying to figure it out. And I think what would be, it's not going to happen because the people in this process do not have the integrity to do it. Plus, it's my personal opinion. With investigations like this, investigations that go to FBI, they go to die there because we still don't know what happened with Lee Harvey Oswald. We don't know what happened in a lot of big events in the past. But
we don't know what happened with Hunter's laptop that they had for a year before the election, right? And then all of a sudden they're telling people that it's misinformation. So this administration in this last 4 years, we've lost a lot of trust in the Department of Health and Hospitals, all of it. It's just gotten so bad and so political.
I think it's, and I think what you would do is if you had, first of all, if you took the hit in the beginning and you said this is what we did wrong and there's no excuse, I think people would be a lot more, okay, we don't like it, but there's transparency. Right, but what they should be doing, which they haven't been doing, is having daily briefings, saying so that there's contemporaneous information that's transparent, that's getting out to the public, so that people can have confidence that whatever breakdown there was, we're going to address it instead of spending all our energy trying to cover it up and trying to justify it or trying to blame local police or what have you. And it's not going to happen. And that's why the skepticism is going to continue to rise because it's just not in them it's just not in it to do it that way. And you're in a political season. There's ends justify the means. It's just not going to happen. And so people are going to be very, very suspicious and very, and you're going to hear a lot of, alternative theories that could be easily put to rest with transparency. That's not going to happen. So, so it is what it is. And so we just, have to deal with it. Also, just sort of changing, I guess, gears. Saints camp opens next this week, coming up this upcoming week, and I think rookies report first, and then you have the veterans. Sort of like, how would you characterize the mood of New Orleans? Just to the fans heading into training camp this year.
Well, I'm very, very disappointed in the fans' generalized reaction to our quarterback. I think Carr is a much better quarterback than they've given him credit for. And I've said this over and over again, right? Last season he played with, 3 backup offensive linemen, backup wide receivers all season, backup running backs. Give him that extra second of time, right? And make, and a little time working with number one wide receivers that they have that they have enough time to work together and work out their timing, work out their whatever, their running backs, their line blocks, all those things. And he's a top 10 quarterback in this league. I'm convinced of it. But just he had injuries. He played, separated shoulders, just didn't miss the game. I mean, the guy's, he's a quality guy. He's who you want for your quarterback right now. I mean, if you can't have Mahomes or somebody, this is a great fit for the Saints. And so I think people kind of have that misimpression of Derek Carr in the back of their mind. And so I don't know that the excitement is there, like we'd have with a Drew Brees or somebody where they know, hey, at least we have Drew kind of thing. And so and the sad part is the first 5 or 6 games of the season, they're playing teams that ran pretty high into the playoffs. So, it's going to be a hard convince, and they better hit the ground running and moving fast. And hopefully the new offensive coordinator can help with that and do some things to make, to hide any weaknesses we might have. We still have a young offensive line, and that's going to be, the telltale for everything else on the offense, because a good offensive line makes everyone else better. I know that was a long answer to a short question.
No. Well, one of the things that I thought was sort of interesting was the lack of, the anticipation. I mean, I think it's like a cautious wait and see rather than we're going to the Super Bowl kind of anticipation.
I agree.
And so we had 15 years. We're going to the Super Bowl, or with that level of optimism, with the possibility of that happening. And so now we're sort of muted and sort of let's wait and see. And again, the NFL, I think they have about 17 or 18 teams that are bunched together, who are between 7-10 and 11-7 teams, just based on a couple of plays. And there's a couple of teams that are probably above them, such as Kansas City, maybe Detroit, San Francisco, maybe Cincinnati with Joe Burrow, Buffalo. But everybody else everybody else is just sort of in the pack, waiting to see who breaks out or not. So that's that. I think that's where we are, between that 7-10 and 10-7. I said 11-7, but 10-7.
Right. Well, and the other half of it is, I think people know we still have Dennis Allen as a head coach, and he's not a head coach leader. He's been a great defensive coordinator all these years. He's not. He doesn't have that leadership. Your quarterback can hand the ball off when they've been told to kneel it down at the 1 yard line and end the game. When they don't
listen to you on the field. You've lost the locker room.
And when you've lost the locker room, it's time for the coaching staff and everyone else to, not the coaching staff, but the front office to say, okay, we need to reevaluate this, because he's lost the locker room, he's lost the players, they don't respect him, and so I don't know. I just that's, I think, a factoring into the lack of anticipation for the year, because it just looks like Dennis Allen is not a head coach. If you look at his record for when he has been a head coach, when is the Dennis Allen experiment going to end? And I hope that it's for his sake that we do great, but and for the Saints' sake. But I just don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, well, this is definitely the make or break it year. Now that we're, I guess we could just be hopeful and see how it plays out. And I love nothing more than be wrong, and I think, or not wrong, but just exceed expectations. That would be.
I mean, look, we want to win.
Right. So, all right. Well, let's go to a break. Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. We'll be right back after this brief timeout.
WWL I think the key word I'm using is I'm cautiously optimistic.
See the eagle.
I'm very cautiously optimistic. I'm in the camp that I think if we miss the playoffs, regardless of the record, DA is gone. I think if we get 10 wins, that's a good season in my mind, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe not just a good season. It's a success.
Yeah, but you say that if you have that many wins in our division, I think
Hi,
I think you're in the playoffs.
tax resolution. When the IRS comes knocking on your door.
My biggest worry is like we talked about this. I was on Sports on Thursday night with Steve and Jeff, and we talked at length about how if the Saints are 9-8 and don't make the playoffs, DA's probably out. If they're 9-8 and do make the playoffs, it's like a 50-50. Maybe he keeps his job. He probably does. But here's the real kicker: if we go like 10-7 but somehow miss the playoffs, I actually don't know if I would still want him.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it depends how that 10-7 looks.
Yeah, and I think it just depends on how it happens. Again, I think last year a lot of what happened was the offensive coordinator play calling was horrible. We'd make a 6 or 7 yard run at 2nd and 3, and they throw a pass behind the line of scrimmage and lose 5 yards. It happens so often. I'm like, throw the ball down the damn field. What are you doing? And I don't think he was checking down. I think that was the primary receivers. Let's throw something in the backfield and like I could not believe some of the play calling, and then it became so obvious. We'd sit at the games and like, oh, watch this play. It's going to be this. It's going to be that.
Are you ready?
More than half the time we were right.
Take your backyard back with J&J Exterminating. Getting rid of what's bugging you is what we do every day. From mosquitoes to ants to no-theums, J&J will make your pest go away. J&J provides mosquito one-time treatments for special occasions or misting systems that get rid of mosquitoes every day, all day long. Call J&J Exterminating, Louisiana's largest independent pest control firm with over 55 years experience.
Right. No, I agree.
Christmas in July at Shags. Get your free Shags Fishing Team shirt with select Shimano reels and special Daiwa price with free goods from Daiwa. 4 Horseman caulks only $4.99 and much more. Shags. Christmas in July, July 19th through the 31st. Don't miss out. It's Shags Christmas in July sale. Starts Friday, July 19th through the 31st. Free gifts and great sale prices at Shags. Get your swag on with a free Shags long sleeve shirt at Shags.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Don't miss out.
I'm not a big fan of that either. Firing somebody during the season. The Saints are sold out. You're not going to lose ticket sales.
Guaranteed.
But
it's not life-changing. It's free. Experience the joy of certainty. California Psychics.
I learned it from my adoptive mom. And I learned you hold my hand. Learn about adopting a teen from foster care at adoptuskids.org. You can't
And
imagine.
like Doug said, we're a couple of plays away. You've got one or two plays here or there.
We're
and
fortunate
you're
that our
in the
daughters
playoffs.
grow and learn, but that isn't the case for nearly 13 million kids in the U.S.
We're back in about 20. We can continue talking about whatever you want. I haven't checked the text line or anything.
Well, I'm locked out for a little while on the text line. Let's see if I can get back.
The most recent thing I see is DC right now. National Christian New Orleans. Everyone's running around like a monster.
All things legal with Justice Sunseri and Albert Nicaud on 12 station. Connect now on the Open Heart text line 504-260-1870.
Hey, we're back. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekly lawyers, all things legal. Yeah.
Well, Doug, you had a chance to watch any of the Pelicans Summer League games since we're talking sports?
No. I haven't watched it, and have you?
I have. I've tried to watch, when there were 1 or 2 games I played while we were out of town. I was able to watch probably three of the games and a few standouts. The Carlo Matkovic, the Bosnian. He played very well. He's your typical, Eastern European type player. He's fundamentally sound, shoots the ball well, passes it well. Yves Missy, our first round pick, at center from Baylor. He's athletic. He's still a project, but I think he's got the skills and the ability. For a guy who has not played a lot of basketball, he's got a lot of court awareness, knows where to be on the court, where the ball's coming off the rim. I liked him. And then Jordan Hall, he's a guard. I think he came over from like the practice squad or something from Golden State, but he went to St. Joseph. He played very well. He's a little undersized, but he's a really good point guard. Again, he was dishing well, moved the ball well, shot well. He was kind of a standout too. And then Antonio Reeves, the guard from Kentucky, is lightning quick. I talked about that before, how we are lacking in quickness. He's lightning quick, a good ball handler. Again, I don't think he's just had enough minutes because he young player, kind of came out early type of thing. But he's got a future if he can learn how to distribute, learn how to move the ball, do the things he's supposed to do, become a good shooter. He's got some real athleticism and some skills. So, that's my take on it. They didn't win a game. I think they went 0-5. They didn't score a lot of points. I don't know who was coaching them or what the end game was to be, but didn't share the ball a lot. I think everybody was out there trying to show their own personal stuff to say, "Hey, coach, I should make the team. Look how good I am." And so a lot of inappropriate shots. When you could have passed it and gotten it back, etc. But we'll see. I mean, there might be one or two players. I think Missy's going to be the deal. How they use him. I hope they don't throw him on the corner.
I think he's 2 to 3 years away at best.
Exactly.
Take maybe a little spot play here and there, but he's a definite project. Well, I guess we'll see. It looks like Ingram's probably going to be with us for the start of the season.
I'm not seeing any movement on him, and let me tell you, he hadn't played very well in the last half of the season. So it's going to be hard to deal him, and then they got to pay him.
Well, they can deal him in the sense that he's got an expiring contract, which makes him more marketable mid-season. I think they're just going to wait and see how it works out. And if they have to move him, they'll move him, and they could get a center who has a long-term contract that a team wants to dump and get Ingram's. His contract expires, and it would be freed up. So that would probably be the scenario that would happen. So it seems like they're just sort of waiting and seeing. They say, well, he's a good ball player. We can keep him in the interim. We're just going to wait until we get the offer that we think it's going to be helpful to the team. So I guess we'll see. But we're talking a little bit about this a couple of weeks ago. In light of the debate, we thought it might be a good topic to talk a little bit about interdiction. And and I think after the break we can talk a little bit about that as to what an interdiction is, how can you prevent an interdiction, some of the situations that you have with as people get older. We're living longer, but we still haven't found, I guess, medical processes to stop our minds from aging. So a lot of times our bodies are aging, but our minds is still is and we're able to live longer. But the mind within our bodies, when we get maybe in the 80s and 90s, doesn't function as well, and it starts having cognitive disabilities and cognitive impairments. And we're seeing probably more than we used to interdictions because of that dynamics. And I think the other dynamic that's happening, and we'll talk a lot about it after the break, is the generation that's the baby boomer, post World War II, post Depression generation, that's 80 and 90s, are in a they were savers. They like to save their money, and even if they had jobs that were they were paid nicely, but they were not super high paying jobs. These boomers saved a lot of money, and the generation after that are more consumers, and a lot of these have had probably more difficulties as far as financially, or maybe just spending wise, and so a lot of that generation, or our generation and below, sees a little opportunity when their parents or relatives get older, that hey, let me take care of them, let me get into their checkbook, let me take advantage of the situation.
Yeah,
and
I see it.
Yeah, and so I think I was just watching the debate, and I was thinking, maybe we ought to talk about interdiction.
When they have an independent counsel go in and look at his documents case against Biden, and they say, yeah, Biden doesn't have the capacity to understand that he actually did something wrong, then okay, so why is he still president?
Right, well,
he doesn't have the capacity to convict or prosecute. So why are we letting him run our country, right? Which he had run our country in 4 years.
That's right. But I thought I think it's a issue that is becoming more prevalent, and on how to deal with it in a different context is dealing with it. But I think there's nothing worse than having family members at the end of someone's life, just go to war with each other in an interdiction proceeding, and a lot of times the interdiction proceedings could have been prevented. Probably most of them are preventable, and they're and they're and actions not taken, and you have these type of disputes. So after the break, I think we'll talk a little bit about interdictions and what can be done.
Another thing too, Doug, I want to bring up, they have some changes to the contractor's licensing law regarding
okay, good, yeah, all right.
Contractors and
good.
residential contractors. So I want to kind of bring those up too, maybe after the top of the hour.
All right, sounds good. All right, let's go to a break. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, you weekend lawyers, all things legal. We'll be right back after this brief timeout.
WWL, home of Scoot on the Air. Always live on the free app. Get ready, sports fans. The station of the Saints and LSU is now the home of your New Orleans Pelicans. All your favorite teams on the new Talk Sports Powerhouse with the Volkswagen. WWL.
As a roofer, I'm always on the go. So I need to be able to get things done from anywhere. That's why I partnered with Beacon. With their unique Beacon Pro Plus app, I've got the brands I depend on, like GAF, right at my fingertips 24/7. I rely on Beacon, because I never stop building, and neither do they. Now through September 15th, purchase GAF through Beacon Pro Plus and earn up to $1,500. Go to BECN.com or download the Beacon Pro Plus app today. Beacon, always building.
When you haven't found love, it can feel like everyone else has. It's in every movie, every song, and all the PDA. Looking for love sucks. Thankfully, California Psychics give you the guidance to find the one. We guarantee your reading of the Bible is free, and new customers receive 10 minutes for just $20. Visit CaliforniaPsychics.com. Experience the joy of California Psychics.
This is Attorney Doug Sunseri, host of All Things Legal on Sunday mornings.
This is Attorney Michelle Brenner. Many are experiencing family law difficulties in divorce and custody issues.
Also, we learned attorney estate planning, wills, and powers of attorney.
Have you been considering law practice? Complex understanding.
Call me immediately on
Call me immediately on the North Shore area, 95-496-97.
Really? Why? It makes no sense. Literally. Focus on what you do well, like growing your business. Let Accounting Services Unlimited handle your business. Hi, this is Thomas Conte. Accounting Services Unlimited is insanely affordable and come to you. Call for a free quote. Accounting Services Unlimited, 504-717-6253. That's 717-6253. Or visit us at ASU.LLC.com.
The moment we come into the world, we do our best trying to get it right. So what happens when anything goes wrong? That's when we have to get it right. The Center for Cancer and Blood Disorders Children's Hospital in New Orleans, the biggest cancer fighting team in the Gulf South, and the most effective therapy found anywhere, all right here in our own backyard. Children's Hospital in New Orleans. Fight childhood cancer right here. Learn more at shinola.org/cancer.
You can host the best backyard barbecue. You can find a professional on Angie to make your backyard surround. Connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. Inside to outside, repair to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
As a roofer, I don't have time to fail. Homeowners rely on me, so I rely on Beacon. Beacon's unique network of brands that work together. What I need. And with the Beacon Pro Plus, I've got the brands I depend on, like GAF, right at my fingertips. Purchase high-quality GAF Beacon Pro Plus and earn up to $1,500. Go to BECN.com or download the Beacon Pro Plus app today. Beacon, always building.
All things legal on WWL. Control gives Nico and Sunseri now on the Open Heart Dealers Talk and Text line, 504-260-1870. And don't forget to rewind on the Odyssey app.
Hey, we're back. That's Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. We sort of talked a little bit about before commercial what an interdiction is, and probably in other jurisdictions it's probably called a conservatorship. But with the aging population, there's a lot of situations where the court, in essence, a person cannot manage his own affairs due to, well, most of the time it's a mental or cognitive impairment. Sometimes it's physical. So therefore, the court has to issue a judgment or issue a declaration that a person, the interdict is what they call them, is unable to manage their own affairs, and they're going to appoint someone else to manage them. And in a typical context is, mom or dad had a horrible stroke. They're nonverbal, unable to take care of themselves. There's no power of attorney. The bank will not allow third parties to access their bank accounts or the investment accounts, and can't pay bills. They can't make decisions regarding medical treatment. They can't make those type of decisions. So a proceeding has to be filed with the court, asking the court to appoint someone to be put in charge of their estate. And it's a very, very, very expensive process. Often, what you have to do is when you file an interdiction, you have to have an attorney appointed to represent the person who's subject to the interdiction. Often the court requires a medical examination of the person to get the requisite medical information to determine whether an interdiction is possible. And you're spending a lot of money just for the other attorney and the court evaluations, and it's a sort of a difficult process. But there's things you can do, Albert, to prevent an interdiction. that would alleviate the need if you ever get in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, listen, people come in, most people have that, at least that visit our office, right? I mean, there are a lot of scenarios in terms of estate planning, but most people that come in, it's like we talk about a spouse in a house, right? We got a spouse in a house, couple of kids, some investments, maybe a rent house or something that they have, but it's pretty straightforward in terms of, if someone should die, what's going to happen and how you want things to play out. So I'm of the opinion that more often than not, you would need more than a will, a power of attorney, where you will make your spouse typically the agent under that power of attorney first, and then as a substitute agent in the event your spouse lacks the capacity or predeceases you or whatever. You appoint someone else, typically a child or family member that you trust, to handle your affairs in the event that you lose your capacity to do so. And it's so often, you think about with all of the HIPAA laws and the privacy laws, and how many privacy statements do we get from companies that we deal with all the time, in the mail or by email, saying that here's what we do with your information, et cetera. Everyone has their privacy rights, and so even among spouses, it's very difficult sometimes to deal with the insurance company, right, or your medical records, or your tax returns, or you name it. And so a comprehensive power of attorney granting someone that right all of a sudden opens all those doors, and it makes the company feel secure in releasing the information to you. And so that's essentially it in a nutshell. But like Doug said, you can do it that way for a very small price. To come in, go over the document, can figure out who you want to be that person, and then get it signed, get it in place. And versus, okay, now we have to take the keys away from Daddy because he's kind of going Joe Biden on us. And so how do we do that, right? And now we, like Doug said, got to get a medical examination. We got to file a court proceeding. It causes a lot of angst between the parent and the children that are, hey, you're trying to take my money, you're trying to do all these things. They become very paranoid. And so if it's set up in the beginning, or not in the beginning, but before you get to that point, it's just a lot smoother. I mean, it's so much easier and smoother, and it's almost painless to come in and say, okay, here, this is what I want to do. We sign it, and now you have something in place.
Yeah, because a lot of times people will say, they might be in their 60s and 70s and say, hey, I don't really need a power of attorney. I'm not going to, I'll be okay. I'll know what to do. I'll be able, I'm not going to be in that position where I make decisions that are not good for me. But what happens is, and this is just a reality, a lot of decisions that you would make in your 60s and 70s, you might not make them in your 80s and 90s. In other words, there's life changes, and you feel more vulnerable. A lot of times you lose some of the faculties. There's a lot of fraud involving, the elderly. A lot of times, a lot of people are just lonely. A lot of times, somebody not, a neighbor will say, hey, can you give me X amount of money? I'm having this problem. Oh, they're not as, you just make decisions differently than you would maybe when you're, and that's just part of the aging process. And
I had a relative, he was in his 90s, and so his son came to me and said, look, his dad was the nicest gentleman, would do anything in the world for anyone, but he was living alone, and the gardener was like, hey, look, I need some money for this. So he's hitting him up for $500 here and $1,000 here. And, he's like, oh, I want to help this guy. right? All in good faith. And so he's my cousin's looking at the checkbook like, something's not right. So he like, what do I do to start taking steps to take this over? And so fortunately, he was able to step in and kind of by voluntarily taking over the checkbook. And I think when he sat down with his dad, said, Dad, look, this is what's going on. And, we need to make sure you have enough money, to take care of you for the rest of your life. So we want to make sure that you're just not giving it all away and you kind of forget you do. And I think at that point he agreed to go ahead and say, yeah, you're right. Let's give you authority to do that. And then you got to kind of walk the line at that point. Now is he capable of making that decision? And so you have these issues of lucid intervals where you sit down and talk to him. And look, I do that for wills. I do it for powers of attorney. I do it for everything. So the son will come in or the daughter will come in and say, hey, look, I want to give you power of attorney, or I want Dad, we're going to write a will. And I'll have the child, of the leave the room and sit down and have a conversation with, who is essentially my client. And say, look, what are you here for? I don't even lead them in one way. Why are you here? What do you want to do? And how do you want this to go down? And who do you want to give this to? And why do you want to do that? And make them answer those questions to confirm that they have the capacity to make those decisions, and that is in fact the decision they want to make. And I've seen too many times where 3 kids in the family, 2 live out of state, 1 lives at home. Typically, that's the one that never did so well in life, so they're still living with mom. But at the end, but the other side of the coin is, okay, look, family, y'all can pay somebody, hundreds of dollars a day for 24-hour care for mom, right, to come move into the house, or we can, put mom in a home for $5,000 or $6,000 a month. Or I can live here and take care of mom, and live here for free. And quite often what happens is 2 things that I've seen. One is mom's very appreciative, right? And says, look, I'm going to write a will where I want daughter who's taken care of me the last 4 or 5 years of my life. I want her to have the house, I wanted to have my share of the house because now dad's gone and everybody's got a little percentage of it. So I want her to have, in that way, it's kind of compensation for taking care of them, and they feel comfortable doing that. The other thing is, hey, look.
I think we got to go to heart.
We
got to go to heartbreak.
Yeah, go ahead.
We got to go to heartbreak. Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, you Weekend Lawyers. We'll be right back after this brief time out.
Get the WWL shows you love delivered to your phone free. Download the Odyssey app and follow your favorites. Tommy, Tucker, Newell Norman, Scoot. Listen when you want, how you want.
I think we're good.
Okay. This was stuff.
WWL is about.
Yeah, we'll have like less than a minute here.
Okay, what'd you hear?
Call 444-4444.
Non-attorney spokesperson, Chad Bellamy Wallace.
This is Deuce. Did you know that Cox Mobile runs on the network 100 million people already rely upon? I didn't, but I'm listening now. Plus, Cox Internet customers get it for $30 a line with the max of 5 lines. I'm ready to make the switch. With Cox Mobile, reliability and savings go hand in hand. Now that's the smart way to mobile. Cox postpaid internet required. Learn more at cox.com/mobile.
For your next car, head to the all-new Cameron POS Bank, your trusted dealer, now serving the New Orleans Metro. The all-new Cameron POS Bank puts fun back into owning a car with an excellent lineup featuring the sleek and stylish Kia Sorento, versatile Kia Sportage, and the luxurious Kia Telluride. Swing by 1884 West Bank Expressway in Harvey or shop online at CameronPOSBank.com. Don't miss out on exclusive deals and financing options. Right easy with the all-new Cameron POS Bank. CameronPOSBank.com.
The home is where the heart is. A roof is its shield. That's why for nearly 30 years, homeowners have trusted their Kia Roof. For more information, visit KiaDidMyRoof.com.
Celebrate financial freedom. Diversify your assets with
been going. SCPM.com.
Guess what, Medley? Same-day Botox available at Wiley Plastic Surgery Group.
We all hear the radio ads from the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. VRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6481. Don't lose hope. VRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available to give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 five-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at CRA.com or call 800-575-6481. That's 800-575-6481. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Summer is here. All day.
Yeah, we're back in about 20 seconds. We'll have about
we're just getting
We're
just getting with the local news you need. No matter what you're up to, and never miss a beat with our breaking stories sent directly to your phone. Today on the
2, 1.
Hey, we're back. Dr. Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers. Ran long. We'll finish our discussion regarding interdictions with Albert. And then Albert's going to tell us about some new laws in the legislature regarding contracting, renovations, repairs, so that, new law changes so that we can know what we're dealing with, especially in light of hurricane season. And, we'll address that. So we're going to go to national news, local news. We'll be back in about 10 minutes on all things legal. Hour number 2. We're on until 10 o'clock today. We'll see you in about 10 minutes.
The News Talk Sports Leader, WWL New Orleans, WWL FM, New Orleans, always live on the Free Odyssey app. This CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Linda Kenya.
More than 30 Democratic lawmakers have called on President Biden to end his re-election bid. Now, West Virginia Independent Senator Joe Manchin is joining him.
Manchin
spoke on CNN, State of the Union.
The last 5 months of this presidency, of his term, to do what he can do is unite our country, to calm down the rhetoric, to focus attention to peace in the world.
Former President Trump has gone back on the campaign trail.
Inside a packed arena in Grand Rapids, Michigan, President Trump rallied the crowd and for the first time campaigned with his running mate, J.D. Vance. For you, only by the grace of Almighty God, the rally after the assassination of Pennsylvania. Security was tight. More bandits on Trump's heel as RNC now switched to a smaller bandit.
And they keep saying, peace and threat for democracy. I'm saying, what the hell did I do for democracy? Last week I took a bullet for democracy.
CBS's Bradley Blackburn with that report. The fallout from Friday's crowd strike, software meltdown, continues with more than 1,000 flights canceled today so far. This woman was waiting to board a flight at the Edinburgh airport.
2 hours later, someone came and said, no, you cannot stay there because this area will close. So we had to wake up the children and to find another place.
The Fork Fire continues to burn in the Angeles National Forest. CBS Los Angeles reporter Lauren Elton.
Crews are working off from the ground and the air to put it out. Conditions are challenging. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department's Special Enforcement Bureau rescued an injured firefighter. 7 hikers were also rescued.
The fire has scorched 230 acres. The head of the Paris Olympics has declared France's capital will be the safest place in the world when the games open. Opening ceremonies are on Friday. The WNBA beat the U.S. Olympic team in exhibition play last night, won 17-109. Chris Williamson with CBS Sports.
Agumbawale, 34 points, 10 of 18 from the field, and it's a WNBA all-time team record for most points.
Agumbawale was certainly pleased with her performance.
Actually called me out at halftime in front of everybody. Was like, just take a deep breath and play your game, and then I guess you guys saw what happened.
And Caitlin Clark made the most of her All-Star debut.
It's a great opportunity to help prepare them for Paris, and I'm going to be supporting them and cheering them on. Like, I love the Olympics. I've loved the Olympics ever since I was a young kid.
Meanwhile, the U.S. men's Olympic team rallied to beat South Sudan by 1 point in exhibition play in London. This is CBS.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hi, I'm Stephen Milan. People are always commenting on how unhealthy my dogs are. One of the reasons is the food my dogs eat.
Dr. Martin is going to continue to prescribe for our dogs and trying to support your dog's health, happiness, and lifestyle.
Their jaws are more flexible, their teeth are cleaner, and their coat shiny. And why they seem more useful even as they age. I'm veterinarian Dr. Martin Colbert. My health is built to thrive with one simple concept. Your dog needs a high meat diet. What your ancestors ate in the wild.
Dr. Martin created Nature's Blend using 50 years of nutritional research and experience, helping dogs make incredible turnarounds. Put up to 54% with Nature's Blend. Get a free bag of cod crispy, their wild cod, ultra crunchy cod skin treat. Go to drmartypets.com/good or text GOOD to 511-511.
Your order is back with a 90-day guarantee.
Offers are unique. Without results and will vary. Effort and date may apply.
WWL First News. I'm Ian Ogan on Weather Station WWL.
We have a warm and muggy Sunday on the way with periodic showers and thunderstorms. These storms can produce some heavy downpours and some brief gusty winds too. Also a lot of lightning in some cases. We have some scattered showers and storms throughout the day today. We'll be humid and warm with high temperatures in the mid to upper 80s.
WWL meteorologist Chris Warren has a full look at the forecast coming up in just a few minutes. Archbishop Gregory Amen said he will release files related to sexual abuse committed by priests in the Archdiocese of New Orleans. That's according to our partners at NOAA.com. Amen says the document released as part of the Archdiocese's long-running bankruptcy case, and that the document will be available once the case is resolved. Amen also said he's willing to meet with small groups of abuse survivors to hear their stories. A Hammond woman is facing charges that she posed as a lawyer to get into the San Bahia Parish jail to meet with inmates. Sheriff's Deputy J. Connie Jones into the jail on Friday, claiming that she was representing two inmates. Deputies and investigators were rebooking those inmates when Jones arrived, and they knew she was not their lawyer. After confirming those details, they arrested Jones on false representation, trespassing, and practicing law without a license charges. Another man waiting in Jones's car in the jail parking lot was also arrested. Deputies said he was in possession of synthetic weed. A former West Wego compensation charges after believing he performed unauthorized vehicle inspection. State Trooper St. Leroy Victoriano inspection affidavits from headquarters without authorization and performed car inspection.
Do you want to circle back on sports to kind of dive back into what you and Albert talked
I don't
about?
know. I was probably.
He's now facing death penalties and money laundering charges.
We'll probably go into Albert's contract.
Yeah, I mean, you can always circle back to sports. I mean, you could always end with, because the only other sports things that we got left is, I mean, we didn't mention the Murray stuff, but we could, the only other stuff you mentioned that all teams are still in it. See a countdown for LSU. I just looked it up. LSU football is 42 days away. It's exactly 6 weeks from today. And Saints football is a week later, 49.
Okay,
We don't have the Pels schedule yet. I don't know when they're.
It's 30. It's 42, right? It's 42 days,
Here's
right?
my thing. If I'm playing
42 for LSU.
I'll rotate coverage
and 49 for Saints.
I'm going to rotate it.
So Saints are 7 weeks away. LSU.
The situation. He's entering.
LSU actually that opening weekend of college football. LSU that opening weekend of like Division III FBS college football or whatever. they're the only Sunday game.
Yeah. Everybody, the whole world's going to be watching.
They're the only Sunday game, and then there's only one other game behind them, and that's Monday night, Boston College and Florida State. They are literally the like that is, and it's 6:30. It is prime time, ABC. Like
wide receiver Derek Meadows, a top recruit from Nevada, taking the live LSU recruiting updates on WWL. And in Las Vegas, the Pelicans fought back from an early 29-8 first quarter deficit against Denver, and they even tied the game late. They fell short in a 91-82 loss to finish their trip to the NBA 2K25 Summer League. Charlie Long, WWL Sports.
Now, your Garcia Roofing.
You gotta let me know when you're at Steam's game and see Olivia Dunn.
Over the next couple of days,
But don't tell your.
I'll tell you an interesting story. Commercial.
Scattered showers and thunderstorms today. They will be hit or miss. Thunderstorms that do
my
not
youngest
play
is
and produce some heavier downpours and some
teammate.
quite a bit of lightning in some cases.
Teen.
So you drive carefully if you do get stuck in one of these
Very
downpours.
interesting story.
Could be worse.
So basically, I'll tell you this commercial.
Field. Also, that the first part of this work week. Every day will have a high chance for numerous showers and thunderstorms. It will be very warm and humid every day with high temperatures in the mid to upper 80s, and any steady and soaking downpours may lead to some isolated street flooding. From WWL Louisiana, I'm meteorologist Alexa Trischler.
And I'm Ian Ozan, WWL First News.
From WWL, the news, talk, sports powerhouse of the Gulf South, it's All Things Legal with Doug Sunseri and Albert Nicaud. Underwritten by Nicaud and Sunseri Law Firm. Join us at the Oakland Art Jewelers Talk and Text line, 504-260-1870, or connect anytime, anywhere on the Odyssey app. Now, to our Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union studios in the heart of New Orleans, here are attorneys Albert Nicaud and Doug Sunseri.
We're back out from Sunseri and Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal, on till 10 o'clock. And we'll talk about, before we get into, we'll talk about some law changes with contractors with Albert. It's 42 days until LSU versus USC in Las Vegas, which I will be there. I'm waiting to see if Las Vegas ever recovers from 40,000 Cajuns for Labor Day weekend. So that's going to be a fantastic weekend. Saints 49 days for opening day. So it is coming upon us very, very quickly. And so also, just a matter, Albert, I'm going to see Paul Skeens Tuesday night in Pittsburgh.
Are you really?
Yes. So we're going to go see him. We're going to see him. I got full LSU regalia. I mean, stuff to wear.
Wait a minute, you mean to tell me you have LSU clothing to wear?
Yeah. I just packed. I don't think I have a non-LSU item I didn't pack. So I will.
So we're going to go. You wear a lot of that to work, even.
That's right.
His LSU shirt.
That's right. I got it.
Well, that's good. And so, why did you decide? Why did you decide to go watch him in Pittsburgh?
Well,
instead of maybe somewhere a little closer.
Actually, we're going with my dad and my son, my brother, and his son. So we do a little
boys trip.
Boys trip, and then we wanted to. So my brother's team is the St. Louis Cardinals. That's who he likes to see. So they play in Pittsburgh, and it worked out that Paul Skeens is going to be pitching Tuesday night. So we're pretty excited about that. He's probably the most, I guess, watched pitcher since maybe Nolan Ryan. As far as he's just generational.
Yeah, he's the real deal for sure. He's a physical specimen. He's got all kinds of stuff. Look at it. I know less about baseball than anyone,
right.
But I can tell you a good pitcher when you see one.
As proud LSU alumni, so we'll be there. So.
Right. His 1 year and done, right?
That's right. That's okay. That's okay. Yeah, when you win a national championship, you're okay. One and done.
That's right. It's the whole new college sports, but.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So look, we talked before the break a little bit about some changes in the laws and the administrative rules of the contractors licensing law, and so you start with the proposition you have three different types of classifications. The first one is a home improvement certificate that you would get from the contractors, state licensing board for contractors. Basically, in the past, what that would allow you to do is perform work anywhere over $7,500 up to $75,000 on a residential structure. And that would be repairing residential structures. It would not allow you to build one. Of course, these days you really can't build one for $75,000, but unless it's maybe a tiny house or something. But so that's the way the law has been. And then for residential contractors, if you're doing anything over $75,000, you have to have a Louisiana residential license, sit and take the test, have the proper insurance, all that good stuff. In the recent past, there was a requirement that certain subcontractors also be licensed. Your framing contractor, your roofing contractor. Now, Ken, keep in mind this is licensing with the state, not necessarily individual parishes or municipalities. Separate licenses, but you were required it for your framing contractor, your foundation contractor, your roofing contractor. I think your mason and maybe your stucco contractor. Those 5 were required to have separate licenses. So if you as a general contractor were hiring a roofer, that roofer had to be licensed by the state and with a home improvement certificate specializing in roofing or whatever the specialty was. So in response to Hurricane Ida, which happened in September of 21, a lot of contractors went to the board and said, hey, look, we got roofers coming in from all over the country. We can't get this done. We can't find licensed roofers, licensed, framers, et cetera. We have to suspend that rule. So in January of 22, they did. They voted to suspend the rule where these subs would have to be licensed. So this year, effective August 1st, they went ahead and made that official, that if you're a residential contractor and you're doing work on a home and you have a written contract with that subcontractor, basically you're taking control of that person's license. They do not have to be licensed. So if the general contractor on the job is licensed, the residential contractor, the subs do not have to be, with the exception of what they call MEP, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, then of course mold, asbestos, and hazardous material. They still have to have the appropriate licensing with the state. So this year, what they did was they said, look, we're going to reduce the home improvement contractor maximum cap from 75 to 50,000. So if you're going to have a contract with a home improvement contractor to come, renovate your kitchen, for instance, then they're going to have a license. Well, it's a registration certificate, and it's going to be capped at $50,000. And they cannot perform any structural work whatsoever. So they can't remove a wall, they can't change the roof line, they can't pop up an addition or anything like that. It has to be a renovation within the parameters of what's existing. So, and then even if a roofing contractor, the roofing contractor will have to get if they're going to do a roof, just you hire a roofing contractor, they're going to have that certificate if they're doing work over $7,500, but they also cannot change the structure. They can't do any structural work. So they can't, add a pit to do whatever.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So as a roofing contractor, what does that really mean as far as what work they can do?
Well, for instance, let's say you have a gable roof, right? A sloped roof from front to back, and in the back you have an addition with a flat roof. Okay, and you say, look, I want the gable roof to go from front to back, so I want you to add a gable roof to the flat roof and then roof it. They can't do that. That's considered structural work. So you'd have to get a residential building contractor with that type of license to add the structural elements, and then the roofer can apply the roof. Now, I want to say as of August of 22 in Jefferson Parish, you have to have a roofing license. You have to be licensed by the parish to install a roof on a residential structure. And I'm almost certain that Kenner is the same way. I think the city of Kenner is the same, which would, I guess, encompass Jefferson Parish. Regarding the MEP, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, the state gives you a $10,000 leeway, I guess. So if they are performing work less than $10,000, they don't have to be licensed, mechanical, electrical, plumber. If it's more than 10,000, again, all of these numbers I'm quoting, these dollar amounts, they include materials and labor. So if they're doing less than $10,000, regardless of who pays for them, so if the general contractor pays for them and the plumber's only doing $7,500 worth of labor, the materials still factor into the cost in terms of the capping. But in Jefferson Parish, for instance, it's the first dollar. So if you are a licensed or plumber in Jefferson Parish and you're doing work under $10,000, you still need a license in Jefferson Parish from the first dollar to do any mechanical, electrical, plumbing work. Whereas in the state, it's 10,000. So I know that's a lot of numbers back and forth, but to summarize, the home improvement registration is limited to 50, and they can't do structural work on your home. They can only do renovations. They can put flooring down. They can do sheetrock. They can do that sort of thing.
What was the rationale to lowering the threshold for home improvement contractors from 75?
I don't know. I don't know where it came from. I think 75,000 is a lot of money. It's a pretty serious renovation. I don't know what's going to happen in that gap, right? So from the $50,000 to $75,000 amount, right? Because the residential contractors at 75. So I don't know what's going to happen between the 50 and 75, but we'll see. I mean, I guess you have to be a residential contractor to do that work. But I'm not sure I will say a lot of these folks don't have insurance. The biggest issue I run into, and it happened after Katrina, and it's certainly happening now. I'm getting calls, ringing off the hook. Oh yeah, somebody bought this house, some LLC. The owner of the LLC acted as the general contractor and renovated the house and flipped it, right? Everybody's watching HGTV with the, flip this house. And so everybody thinks they can do that. And so they hire these folks that typically are unlicensed. And now all of a sudden, they put lipstick on a pig and didn't know what they were doing. And so people are finding these defects, and there are certainly causes of action against them in what's called retribution, and we can explain that a little bit. But the causes of action in retribution for the return of the purchase price or the reduction of the purchase price of the sale, and there are ways to get past the LLC and hold these people personally liable because they're performing work without a license. They're not licensed contractors. They don't have a home improvement certificate. And so, they're hiring subcontractors, acting as general contractors. And so, it's violation of law, which if you violate the law, you lose your protection as an LLC. And so you can go after them personally and hold them personally liable for any work that they may have done defectively. So, yeah.
And I think these issues sort of seem to crop up a lot in the aftermath of a disaster. Hope to God we don't get another hurricane for another 10 or 15 years. Or for our lifetime, but it seems like the issue of licensing is paramount when you have, all these structures are damaged and you have all these storm chasers coming in from other states. doing work. And the
Yeah, that's a bit of a different issue than the flipper, right?
Yeah.
Because usually it's somebody that, hey, I'm going to go grab some folks from Lowe's or Home Depot, and we're going to get them to paint, we're going to get them to do this. I'm going to do the electrical work. I'm going to set the fixtures. I'm going to, somebody with a little handyman knowledge thinks they can go in and spend some weekends doing some work and then flip it to somebody else. I just had one recently, and there's mold all over the floor. They didn't protect it right. That's a big issue, by the way. This has handled probably a half dozen of those cases. When you have, let's say you've got a home in kind of the western part of Metairie where the ground sinks. Every year or two, you're throwing mud in your front yard and filling the yard and, replanting grass and all that kind of thing. Well, that's happening underneath your house. And so even though your house may be on pilings, right, so there's going to be a void underneath the house. And so when it rains, that water is going to get under the house and sit there. And when it does, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, when these houses were built, in Metairie, they had a vapor barrier. They had a visqueen or whatever that would cover the slab, or underneath the slab that would cover the dirt. Well, that's all kind of gotten brittle and worn away. And so now all of a sudden you've got this water sitting under a slab. Well, even though it's a 4-inch, 5-inch concrete slab, it's still very porous, and so water and moisture will work its way up through the slab. And so what's happening is these people are grabbing these houses, they're buying them and they're pulling the floors up, and they're just putting floor down without properly prepping the floors. And there are specific products that, you're supposed to clean that concrete, even etch it sometimes with a grinder to where you make it porous so that this product can go down and it keeps the moisture from coming up under the floors. And so what happens is after a year or so, or high, periods of rain, over high periods of rain, they end up, sorry, that's my wife's phone, but they end up, causing moisture to come up through the floors. And so it's a big issue, and I've seen it over and over again. And so, people will come in and flip it, they'll put the floors down, and next thing you know, you've got these mold problems, with flooring that's curling up, and even the vinyl flooring, that is supposed to be waterproof. Underneath it mold forms between the slab and that vinyl. And so you need to have the proper product that kind of absorbs into the slab and prevents that moisture from getting in.
Well, all right. Well, let's go to a break. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. Continue our discussion on new law with contractors right after this brief timeout.
WWL, home of Louisiana's great outdoors with Don Dubuque. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Big news for you.
Apple's got everything going on today.
Now
you got dogs,
got dogs, got the phones.
We need someone walking.
Is the IRS on your back? Hi, this is Caitlin with Go Tax Resolution. If you received a letter from the IRS or state demanding payment for back taxes,
sorry about that. My wife's phone was where I couldn't get it, and it was like just going off real loud.
Passionate resolution specialist will get to work right away.
Knowing the IRS, we got a guest over, and
but you don't have to do it alone. Give us a call today at 985-722-1040. And let us give you peace of mind. Or go online to gotaxresolution.com. That's GEAUX taxresolution.com.
Hi, I'm Sam with Go Tax Resolution. Some claims for the Employee Retention Tax Credit will expire this year. Now is the time to call and see if you qualify. Call Go Tax Resolution at 985-722-1040 before they expire. The Employee Retention Tax Credit is a refund that businesses may qualify for if they maintain their employees during the pandemic. Some credits will expire this year. Contact Go Tax Resolution at 985-722-1040 or gotaxresolution.com. That's GEAUX taxresolution.com.
It's Shag's Christmas in July sale. Starts Friday, July 19th through the 31st. Free gear and great sale prices at Shag's. Get your swag on with a free Shag's long sleeve shirt with select Shimano reels. 4 Hoffman caulks, only $4.99 and much, much more. Christmas in July, July 19th through the 31st. Get your free Shag's fishing team shirt with select Shimano reels and special Daiwa prices with free goods from Daiwa. 4 Hoffman caulks, only $4.99 and much, much more. Shag's.
Do you feel like you're going through life crowded by doubt? Talk to California Psychics. Our trusted and accurate psychics are available 24/7, and we guarantee if it's not life-changing, it's free. Download the app or connect with us at CaliforniaPsychics.com. Right now, new customers get 80% off their first reading. Experience the joy of California Psychics.
Hi, I'm Angie Hicks, co-founder of Angie, and one thing I've learned is that you buy a house, but you make it a home. Because with every fix, update, and renovation, it's a little more your own. So you need all your jobs
How about some
done
Jimmy
well.
Buffett?
For nearly 3 years, Angie has helped millions of homeowners hire skilled pros for the projects that matter. From plumbing to electrical, roof repair to deck upgrade. So leave it to the pros who will get your jobs done well. Hire high-quality, certified pros at Angie.com.
All things legal on WWL-AMFM.com and the Odyssey app. Connect with Doug Sunseri and Albert Nicaud on the Open Heart Jewelers Talk and Text line, 504-260-1870.
Hey, we're back. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers. All things legal. Howard, I wanted to ask you this question, and you're sort of leading up to, if you're a home buyer, now there's not a lot of home activity right now, and there's actually, I've been told by a lot of renovation contractors that people are doing renovations instead of moving because they're into a house that has a 2.5-3% loan, and if they move, they would have to get a 7 or 8% loan. So they're doing a lot of renovations. But be that as it may, if you're looking to purchase a house, a lot of these houses, especially in the areas that had hurricane damage and they were repaired, what kind of due diligence would you recommend a purchaser do in connection with the purchase of the house and finding out, what kind of damage was there before, how it was repaired, and
so the very first thing you want to do is find out who renovated it. Was it a licensed Louisiana contractor, residential contractor? Who did the renovation? Right? Was it, or was it just the homeowner? And did the homeowner renovate it? Okay. If you're comfortable with that, who are their subcontractors? Who did they hire to do it? Were these people licensed? Provide all your warranties. If you put a new AC in, I want the warranty information. I want to know when you bought it, who you bought it from, and give me the warranty information on all of that. Any appliances that were moved into the place. Who did this work, right? Were licensed plumbers done? And then listen, do your own due diligence. Go to the permit department for the parish or city where you're buying the property, and say, look, I want to get a copy of the permits in the last 2 years that were pulled on this house. Because a lot of times, and more often than not, I see that a lot of these houses that were flipped, they didn't even get permits. So they were doing this work probably in the midst of hurricane aftermath, and the permit department was either overwhelmed or just not necessarily going out and doing all the inspections required for closing walls, etc. Did you use a licensed plumber? Did you use a licensed electrician? Did they file a permit? Did they get it inspected? You want to know all of those things. Get a list of work that was done. Okay, yeah, we replaced. We renovated the bathroom, right? We replaced all the tubs and fixtures, etc., in the bathroom. Well, who did it? Did a licensed plumber do it? You should see some of the work that I've come across. We had a house one time that this girl, she was hilarious. I mean, she was a lot of fun. We ended up doing very well with her case. But like they had a a bathroom sink, and she couldn't figure out where the water was coming from because the sink was only used occasionally. It was like a hallway bath. Well, it wasn't connected to anything. So the drain line was supposed to be connected, to the main drain line in the house, and it wasn't. So water was just pouring behind the walls every time somebody used that bathroom sink to wash their hands or brush their teeth, or if she had somebody spending the night, whatever. And so, the floor started buckling and all this stuff. Well, they didn't have a licensed plumber do the work. And look, they've got these third-party inspection companies. One of them recently, the head of it went to jail because he was not performing the inspections. He was putting money in his pocket, and so were other members of the company. And so contractors were like, hey, yeah, I'm going to use this guy because they turn a blind eye, and I can just get the work done and not have to wait on them for inspections or go back and do whatever. So you want to make sure that I want to see the contract. You can scratch out the price. I don't care, how much they charge you. I want to know the scope of work that they did and who did it. And I want to confirm they were licensed. That alone is not the end all be all, but I tell you, it goes pretty far in terms of knowing that the work was done properly, and that's a third party was hopefully, looking at it and inspecting. Because, once the walls are closed, how do you, even a home inspector or general contractor, whatever that you might hire to go in and do a pre-inspection, they're not going to be able to see anything behind the walls or under the floors or that sort of thing. Or of course, the other thing is to get a home inspection by a reputable home inspector. You can type in LSBHI, Louisiana State Licensing Board. Louisiana State Board of Home Inspectors, and you can type in lsbhi.org and go to that website and find a home inspector in your area. Typically, your real estate agent will recommend one, and find somebody to go in and do a complete inspection and give you a good understanding of what you're looking at from the naked eye, right? They're not going to be able to pull walls out and things like that, but it's going to be a visual inspection. And they will test the AC. They'll make sure that the drop in the AC temperature is appropriate. And, they'll run the faucets, they'll run the drain and see if the tubs are filling up and whether you get hot water quickly enough, things of that nature. So it's pretty comprehensive, but it is visual, but it gives you a leg up on what might be going on with the house as well.
Now, if you're purchasing a house and you sign a purchase agreement, what portion of how does it work with the ability to do inspections and revisit?
I'm sorry.
When you purchase a house. And you sign a purchase agreement, and then you do your inspections. Where in the contract does it allow for those inspections, and what in these purchase agreements you can do if you find something?
Typically there's a 10-day inspection period, right? And then from that inspection, you will usually generate your deficiencies and say, okay, look, I've seen this. This railing is loose, or this needs this, or the ceiling fan in the master bedroom doesn't work. I want these fixed, or, those kinds of things. And you go through and they go back and forth. The other thing, obviously, you need to do is look at the disclosure statement, right? The law requires that a seller produce a disclosure statement to identify defects in the home that they are aware of. And so if they don't identify something and you can somehow establish that they were aware of these defects, then you have a claim for retribution. So let's do this, Doug. Let's take a break, and I want to kind of talk real briefly about retribution and what that is and how it works, and the sale with warranty and as-is clauses and all that sort of thing.
All right, so we're going to take an early break. Colin, we blindside you on that one. We'll take a break, and we'll talk about retribution and how it works, the time periods involved. We'll be right back after this brief timeout and all things legal.
WWL, home of the Garden Show with Dan Gill. Always live on the free.
Don't worry, I didn't have my pants down. We're good.
WWL wants you to experience the National World War II Museum.
I was looking because I was trying to get some information about.
That means you
So, like the first segment we did this hour was about like changing on.
You can go to
Yeah.
And then what like I'm trying to get like.
What's this one? This one is
The story of America.
let's see.
We're talking about like houses and inspection.
Wesley Financial Group is no longer.
If you own a timeshare, founder of Wesley
legal
Receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss
legal
especially canceling your timeshare.
applicable legal
If you
issues
really want to
involving
have your timeshare, hang the phone up
renovation
or throw that mail piece
of
in the trash and contact
your house.
Okay, let me find a better way to word that.
Yeah.
your timeshare. As we
Not very good.
knowledge,
There you go.
and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families who help get out of their timeshare. Give us a call and I'll send you our timeshare exit information free. The straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info at 800-329-2121. 800-329-2121. My boy Troy Duhan is more committed than ever to providing you with the best experience when searching for your new or pre-owned vehicle. Hey, it's Tommy Tucker, the dealership that expanded. My boy Troy Duhan now with a presence on the West Bank with the dealership that was previously owned by Ray Brandt. But before we get to that, they finally have a great inventory. They are dealing with big discounts. Used car value is still at an all-time record level, so there's never been a better time to trade your car.
Got it. I figured it out. The question you asked me at the beginning was like, if you're a new home buyer, what kind of due diligence?
Due diligence from new home buyers. There you go.
Before you buy that home.
There you go.
All of them come with a warranty and a 3-day
money back guarantee. Shop online at premierautomotive.com and check out the
Albert
Housing Law, Premier Honda, New Orleans East, Premier Kia,
Premier Nissan of Metairie, Nissan of Harvey, Premier Volkswagen of Harvey, Premier Chrysler Dodge Ram, and Premier Hyundai. And if you can, please go to givinghope.nola.org and volunteer.
Please recommend online consultation with healthcare providers will determine if the program will be strictly applies to website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but it's 95% cheaper? And you can get it online at hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation to determine the ED medication that's best for you. Discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and a range of treatment options, including trusted generic alternatives to the name brand, at up to 95% off. ED is personal, and at Hims, so is treatment. Just go to hims.com/joy and get connected to a licensed medical provider online for free, with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversation. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. hims.com/joy.
This summer, take a trip down memory lane with me and hear from the legends of baseball. I'm Brett Boone from Brett Boone Podcast. Every week I have a conversation with one of baseball's greats to talk about the glory days and reflect on today's game. Randy Johnson, Steve Rhodes, Deion Sanders, Jay Buhnen, Albert Bell, and Drew Scott have all shared their wisdom and stories of their playing days. To hear who's next, follow and listen to the Brett Boone Podcast on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcast.
Let me if you know this one.
Now, more All Things Legal, underwritten by Nicaud and Sunseri Law Firm. All advice given and opinions shared are solely those of attorneys Albert Nicaud and Doug Sunseri. Back to WWL.
Hey, we're back. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers. All things legal. Colin, who is that?
Who do you think?
Is that I can't guess. Tell
Albert,
me.
do you know?
I don't.
It's Rose Royce.
Oh, that's a deep
Rose
cut.
Royce. That's a.
Was,
car wash? Didn't they do car wash?
Let's see what this was in full bloom in 1977.
Was that the group that had Jeffrey Osborne before he became Jeffrey Osborne?
That's too deep for me.
Huh?
I wouldn't know that. I'd have to do.
You wouldn't know that. You would know
I'd have
that.
to do some googling. I could circle back.
Gotcha. All right, that's a deep cut there. I didn't even hear that one on Soul Train. I never heard that one.
Yeah, Rolls Royce did car wash, working at the car wash.
There you go, Albert.
Yep.
You can quit your day job.
They had another one. What was that? That other one was Love Don't Live Here Anymore. Remember that? You abandoned me. Love don't live here anymore. Anyway,
hey, you hitting talent out. Jeez.
Yeah. No, they sang it about 10 octaves higher, right? You abandoned me.
Yeah.
Getting
they might hire you over at Rock and Roll, play weekly there. If you keep that up.
Getting back to what we were talking about.
Retribution.
Yeah.
Talk about
in Louisiana, when you sell anything, whether it's a chair, a house, everything in between, you are warranting this to the seller, to the buyer, that the thing is fit for its intended use, that there are no defects. I'm selling you this, and there's presumed to be a reasonable warranty, right? So when you purchase a home, there will be a separate statement usually, and typically it's in the sale document, but there's a separate statement of an as-is clause, okay? So basically what you're saying is that, look, I'm not warranting this house to you. I'm selling it to you as is, and it's going to say with a waiver of retribution, right? Retribution means that you sold something to me that was not fit for its intended purpose or that had a defect, and I want a reduction in the purchase price as in terms of the value of the vehicle of the defect, or I want a return of the purchase price because the defect has made the product or the house defective, whatever, that I want my money back. So you sign an as-is clause and you waive that right to bring that action. Now, the caveat to that is if you can establish that the owner knew of a defect and failed to disclose it, or stated that the house had a particular attribute that it did not have, hey, we replaced the AC, it's brand new, right? And you can prove that they knew that, then you can bring an action in retribution regardless of the as-is clause that you signed. So it's a hard case to win. How do you prove somebody knew something or was aware of something? The other thing that stands in your way when you're making that claim is if it's discoverable on simple inspection, right? You got a hole in the floor in the living room and they don't disclose it on the disclosure statement that they're required to sign. But if I walk in the living room, I can see the hole in the floor, then I don't have a claim for retribution because it was discoverable upon simple inspection. Now you get into what is simple inspection? Do I have to climb under the house? Do I have to, go in the attic? Who knows what simple inspection really means? And there's some cases interpreting that, but anyway, so you would have that right of retribution in the event that you can establish that they knew or should have known. Now, where it gets tricky for contractors, right? Or people that say they're contractors and they're flipping a house. So if they have some knowledge of construction and they're out there flipping houses, then they are assuming the role of a contractor. And there's a civil code article dealing with retribution that says the manufacturer of the thing is presumed to know of its defects. And the courts have kind of extrapolated that to contractors. Basically, if you're renovating a house and you redid the kitchen and there is a defect in the kitchen that's undiscoverable on simple inspection, then you are presumed to know of the defect because you were the manufacturer of that thing. You were the one that went in and touched it and handled it and built it. And so you're going to owe the buyer whatever the costs were for the defects, because you were the manufacturer of the thing and you are presumed to know of the defects. So there's ways of getting around the as is clause in the purchase of a I want to say resale home, not a new home. New home, that deals specifically with New Home Warranty Act, and that's a show for another day. But this is strictly for flip houses, for houses that are renovated, and again, like Doug said, what do we do for due diligence? Get as much information as you can. Go to the permit office, get all the warranties, get copies of the contracts with the subcontractors or the general contractor, so you'll know what was done on the house.
What is the time period for filing a lawsuit for renovation?
So there's good faith and bad faith. You got 1 year from the date of discovery, and up to 4 years for bad faith for that. So bad faith basically means you knew and failed to disclose it.
I got it. All right, I got it. I got a text message that I can dive into.
Anyway, so that so you have time to do so, but it's typically whenever you have any types of either a New Home Warranty Act case or whatever, it's 1 year from the date of discovery when you should discover the defect.
And I think Cullen has a text.
Yeah, I do, guys. I got a text on from 1117 said waiver of warranty of could be misspelling here. Red edition.
Yeah.
All right, good. Must be in clear and unambiguous language and must say red edition. Quote,
Correct.
As is, where is alone is insufficient. Must be brought to the attention of the buyer. If bad faith seller, buyer may get retention of sales plus damages and attorney fees.
That's all correct. And that's why if you look at it's a separate document and it's an as is clause, and it will say, as is, where is, waiver of retribution, and typically they will cite the particular code articles in that document, and all the realtors have it, right? And yes, you would be entitled to attorney's fees as well for a bad faith retribution kind of, if the owner knew and failed to disclose it type of thing. And you would get attorney's fees as well in that claim against the seller.
There. And so as far and again, that doesn't apply to new houses. That's just for new houses.
Correct.
They have
New Home Warranty Act is exclusive to a new home, and what you have to understand too is that the New Home Warranty Act allows for a 5-year. It's 1 year, 2 year, and 5 year preemptive periods plus 30 days. So it's 1 year plus 30 days, 2 years plus 30 days, and 5 years plus 30 days. And the 30 days kind of gives you the notice requirement where it gives them the opportunity to come repair it. But 1 year is for general building standards. 2 years is your MEP, right? Your mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. And then 5 years is your structural and foundation. What you can do, though, let's say somebody buys a house from a builder and 2 years later they sell it to you. You're still covered by that builder's warranty up to that 5 year period. So even though you're not the initial purchaser of the new home, you're still covered by the warranty period. So somebody, let's say, buys a new house, they get transferred 6 months later and they sell it to you. You didn't buy it from the builder, but you bought a house that's 6 months old, and that builder still has to warranty 1 year, 2 year, 5 year item to the subsequent owner, because the warranty stays with the house, and it's not with the owner.
Gotcha. All right, well, let's go to our final break. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. We'll be right back after this brief timeout.
That's it. That's the one. I couldn't hit that note.
I found it.
Don't forget your mother.
Who's that?
Get the WWL show you love delivered to
Didn't
Where's
he?
voice? Love don't make it anymore.
Oh, okay.
I found it. He mentioned it. I found it.
I was telling you the skiing story. Mia played
Keep it locked on
football and
breaking sports news.
against a volleyball player. She was 6'5". She played hand and high on this side, and she played at LSU for 4 years. And I know her parents, and her parents invited us to a function. This about 2 years ago, and so I was asking how her name's Allie doing. She goes, "Oh, she's doing fine. She's got a new boyfriend." That some picture who transferred from Air Force, but she's 6'5" and he's 6'6". And he's, when you're 6'5", you're like you really can't date anybody less than 6'2". So, but I think she lost out to
joint or muscle pain if you're looking to feel better.
I think they broke up and Olivia Dunn was next.
In 3 weeks.
Okay, so we're back in about 2 minutes or so. We're going to be back on the air at about 54 and a half.
Yeah, so
we
we
got
have about 3 minutes.
time. We actually got a caller that we can try to take care of.
What do they want to talk about?
Though, Albert. Don from Slidell. He's calling about mobile home warranty.
Tell you
All right, yeah, we'll take it.
back
We'll take it.
naturally with Relief Factor. These products and statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or condition.
Are you ready to ditch the itch this season and take your backyard back? With J&J Exterminating, getting rid of what's bugging you.
We'll have more than enough time for him.
From a
I just didn't know if you guys knew anything about mobile home.
Will make your pest
Let
go
Albert.
away. J&J
like
provides
a few minutes
mosquito one-time treatments for special occasions or misting systems that get rid of mosquitoes
I think it'd be
every
the
day,
same thing.
all day long. Call
You want to end with
the largest independent pest control
Oh, let's see.
5 years experience.
I don't know. Earth, Wind, and Fire. How about that? Fantasy?
Low resources, complete.
You said Earth, Wind, and Fire. You said fantasy?
Yeah, fantasy would be one.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that
That's a
if you
good
owe
one.
money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6481. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS.
All right, I got it. We're good. Yeah.
Over 1,000 five-star reviews on Google.
I'll do music and rejoin. We're back in about. Yeah, music and rejoin back in about 15.
Your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at CRA.com.
Again, Don
Slidell.
6481. That's 800-575-6481. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Hey, we're back. Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. Before we go, Don on the lines got a question regarding mobile home warranties. If you're a golf fan and you're an LSU fan, Sam Burns, LSU alumni, is 2 under, 4 strokes behind Justin Rose and Billy Horschel. He's through 6. He's 1 over on the day, 2 under in the tournament. So go Sam. Let's go to phone lines. Let's go to Don's got a question regarding mobile home warranties. Hey, Don, you on All Things Legal.
Hey, thank you for taking my call. The question I have, it may not be a classification of a mobile home, a prefab home, where brought in there on trailers and put together. And what type of warranty or they should have? What type of warranty do they have?
Well, it's gonna depend a lot on what the structure is, right? So you have mobile homes that are typically on wheels, and you have, a single wide and a double wide that has a foundation, that has a structure, whatever. And so they're not governed by the new Home Warranty Act, but typically what will happen is you will deal directly with the manufacturer with respect to those warranties. And so any warranty claims will be set out in a contract that you have with the manufacturer as to what is covered and for how long, et cetera. They also have these these home warranty companies that will they sell a home warranty for appliances, et cetera, et cetera. And so you could look at those as well. But it's not a typical construction by a builder. So it's not a new Home Warranty Act issue. So you have to look at the manufacturer who built it. Somebody might hook it together and hook up the plumbing and the electrical, to the already stubbed out plumbing and electrical line, but they usually come pre-wired, pre-plumbed, everything else. So those again will be through the Now, if somebody turns around and sells that property to you, right? So they've got a double wide, they sell the double wide to you. Now all of a sudden they're going to be bound as the seller of that. And so if there's a defect that they're aware of and they fail to disclose it, they will still be subject to the retribution provision that we've been talking about. So, so that when you buy something like that new, the manufacturer's warranty is what you end up, being able to recover on, if anything.
So what they're saying is a 1-year warranty. Are you saying that you can buy an extended warranty?
Well, there are companies out there you can get on the internet and buy an extended, just like your home, right? You buy a new home or buy a house from someone. It's not a new home, but you buy a house from somebody, and you can pay, I don't know if it's a monthly fee, sometimes it's an annual fee for a home warranty. Now it's not going to cover everything. It typically doesn't cover the structure or the roof, but it mostly covers like appliances, HVAC, certain things that go wrong, and different ones cover different things and have different, different deductibles for that, right? Your dishwasher goes out, $35, we'll buy you a brand new dishwasher and hire someone to come reinstall it. So those are your home warranty companies, and they have those specifically for mobile homes and pre-manufactured homes.
We got about a minute.
And so just get on the internet and search for those, and you'll, and they'll typically come out, do an inspection, make sure that, how old your AC unit is and do all that. And they'll base your rates based upon the age of your fixtures and mechanical equipment.
All right, Don, thanks for the call. We gotta go. Got about 40 seconds left, Albert, before we.
Just stay out the heat, beat the heat, have a great summer, and we'll see y'all next week.
We'll see you next week on All Things Legal. Y'all have a fantastic week, and we'll see you next week.
You killed it today, bud.
Thank you.